Welcome inside our Golf Channel studios. Ryan Burr with Jim Gallagher Jr. played for the very first President's Cup team, 1994, joined by Jaime Diaz as well. Jim, let's start with the United States team and what Tiger Woods tried to accomplish with this 12-man team that just a day away from competition.
Well, these guys are trying to get it together. They've had a pretty good season, most of them. Now you've got to piece together who you think is going to play the best. They open with 4-ball. You've got some guys. There have been some pairings that have been the same the first 2 days of practice trial. Cantlay, Reed, Thomas Woods have been together. DeChambeau, Finau, and then you've got Johnson and Kuchar. Those are potential pairings that we've seen those guys in both days of the practice rounds. But for the guys that are rookies, that anxiety and that excitement is starting to clash in there. You've just got to be careful it doesn't take an over the moment. You just got to go out and enjoy the ride.
Tiger Woods, first playing captain since, of course, 1994. Jaime, how much do you expect Tiger to play?
You know, you got to play at least 2, or 3, I should say. 2 of the first team matches and then the last one. So I think 3 for sure, obviously, but I don't think many more than that, especially if they control the matches early. I think Tiger just wants to win. This is important. If he loses, that's a blemish on his history. And, you know, just win, baby, is always his theme. He loves Al Davis and the Raiders. He kind of grew up with that. And I think the Patrick Reed thing is a blip, but he can make it go away by a big dominating victory. So I think that's the goal. If it gets tight, I think he'll play more.
Jim, you've been in a team room. How much of a distraction is the Patrick Reed situation?
They're trying to deflect it. They're trying to not make it a distraction. I think if Patrick plays well, it goes away. If he doesn't, it becomes more of that. I mean, I think there's some things where guys are, you know, they're trying to just focus on themselves and get this past them. It's not going to go away. That's the thing.
Is this media made, though, or do you think the players even care?
I think the players care. I mean, the players care about integrity. They don't like to see the game besmirched. Right now, Patrick is a lightning rod, and what he did was a violation, obviously, but his defense of it, or at least his failure to accept that he actually was himself at fault for this, and it wasn't just a ruling against him, I think has caused a lot of guys to feel like this has to be called out. We don't want players to actually openly violate rules and then act like they didn't do anything. It's not good for the game. So I think there is a sense of let's police our own game here a little bit, and Patrick's got to take some hits for that.
Interesting for sure. We'll continue to watch that develop. For the international side, they have won only once in the history of the President's Cup. It came at this very golf course at Royal Melbourne back in 1998. This is the 13th President's Cup. The captain is Ernie Els. He has a very young, very inexperienced team. 7 rookies in all for the squad. Certainly a David versus Goliath feeling here, Jim Gallagher Jr. The Americans are loaded, some of the most recognizable and best players in the world, and frankly, it's kind of the opposite with this international side.
It is. You've got guys who have played this golf course, and that's going to be a big advantage for the international team. They've only led after the first session 3 different times. They won it once, they tied, and they lost. So it's real important for these guys to get off to that start, maybe either be tied or to the leading in the 4-ball. They've struggled in the foursomes format throughout the history since '94. But it's a team that's very young. I see a lot of the veterans maybe be paired with some of these young guys, or you might see some guys who have played the golf course to kind of help these guys get around. So he's got a lot more difficult decisions for Ernie putting guys together than maybe Tiger does.
7 rookies would spell likely defeat for the international side, but big picture, 7 rookies and new blood and very, very young players that are barely into their 20s. Is that a positive sign for the future?
Could be. We talk about scar tissue, and this is less scar tissue. At the same time, I think Royal Melbourne could end up being a kind of a star and a big asset to the internationals because, first of all, it's a golf course. If you set the pins extremely difficult, it kind of takes away the chance for a lot of birdies. I mean, you can hit it close, and yet the pins are so diabolical that you won't see a lot of guys shooting at pins if they set them a certain way. That helps the internationals. And also, the type of short game that they tend to play is something that Melbourne actually demands, and the Americans aren't quite as used to that. So it could end up getting to be a scrappy, par is important kind of match, and I think that could help them. I think Ernie Els, I think the passion with which he's bringing to this, and he doesn't want to lose to Tiger again, that's something that the international are definitely going to support as well.
Yeah, and the distance that the Americans lead by as far as they hit it off the tee is not going to be the advantage of this golf course. You've got to get it around. Like you said, the greens are very difficult. The Americans make more birdies on average than the internationals, so maybe par is a good score. I just think it's navigating yourself around and trying to control your emotions for these young guys on the international team.
And, of course, play gets underway Wednesday, 5:30 on Golf Channel. This has been Golf Central live from the President's Cup on YouTube. If you like what you see, hit the button below and subscribe.